Hello there, and welcome back to my channel. If you remember last week, I talked about adding plot twists to your story, and I mentioned that foreshadowing was one of the literary devices that you can do for that. I also mentioned that I would do a video on foreshadowing, and as if you know me well, I am one to keep my promises. So here are 9 tips on how to do foreshadowing in your story. Drum roll, please. Number 1, subtle hints. Mysterious, isn't it? This means you drop several details that at first seem insignificant, only to reveal their importance at later times. For example, during a murder investigation, a cop is interviewing someone, and that character makes a seemingly innocent comment about the victim. Perhaps the victim owned something that was missing from the house, and that's what the character commented on. The cop might have thought nothing about it at the time of the interview, but then, when the victim's family inventoried the house, that item was discovered missing. Which another way this is done, as was done, is if you ever saw the Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, when the Jedi were discussing who the Sith Lord Master could be, the camera then ended up going to Senator Palpatine, who ended up being the Sith Lord and later the Emperor. Number 2, symbolism. By symbols, I don't mean what drummers crash or ride on during a song. Storm clouds on the horizon could signal trouble brewing, and not just with the weather. Or sunny skies could mean something good is about to happen. Or you could throw people for a loop and have the opposite happen. Maybe a desolate landscape could symbol loneliness. Or another way that has been done, if there is a gun in a scene at the start, it will go off at some point towards the end of the scene or end of the story. Number 3. Wait for it, is dialogue. Different from the subtle hints mentioned before, you can have a character say something like in Indiana Jones, how Indy hates snakes. So of course, towards the end of the story, he has to go through a pit of snakes to achieve his goal. Basically, if a character expresses something that they hate or are terrified of, you make them have to face that fear at the end in order to achieve their goal. This is part of a character growth arc. Number 4, drumroll, for flashbacks and flash forwards. Similar to how a character might in dialogue say they hate or are fearful of something, perhaps your character could have flashbacks of a traumatic event. Like, for example, they were in a boating accident and almost drowned, and vowed never to go near the water again, unless, of course, they were taking a drink. They have flashbacks of the traumatic event at certain points of the story, like when they would have to go take a swim anywhere at all and decide, I'm not going to do that. But towards the end of the story, at the climax, they have to save a child or someone else from drowning in frigid water rapids. Do they go in and overcome their fear? Well, if they're going to be a hero, well, obviously they would have to, but anyway, a flash forward can be done with a clairvoyant character, like perhaps an impending disaster, but no one believes that psychic because predictions before didn't come true. But then this one did. Well, guess it was oops on the townsfolk part, wasn't it? Anyway, 5, character reactions. To use this foreshadowing technique, you could have a character give a subtle or maybe not so subtle reaction to something that might give some hint to a future event. If you ever watched the first Independence Day movie, this was done very well when the fighter jets from Earth were about to attack the spaceship. Before the attack, the camera cuts to the Secretary of Defense, Albert Nimzicki. The look on his face shows that he potentially knows something about the alien spacecraft. An excellent way to do something like this in your own story would be, let's say you have characters planning a heist. One of them says something, "This is all going to go according to plan." Another character purses their lips or their breathing changes slightly, almost imperceptibly to the other characters. Then the heist gets stopped by the cops due to the pursed lip character getting tipped them off. Well, that guy's going to go bad in prison if he goes there. Number 6. Ominous setting descriptions. Well, for this one, first of all, you don't start off with, "It was a dark and stormy night." Because, well, I've said this before, that's been done so many times, it probably gets a book tossed in the garbage these days. Fog rolling in can make your setting seem foreboding, or shadows on the wall, or anything like that. There's a reason why so many horror movies are set at night, because, well, horror movies are dark, aren't they? Yeah, usually. Number 7, prophecies or predictions. Well, similar to number 4, a character could be clairvoyant and is able to see the future of possible events. For a prophecy, let's use the Star Wars example again. Pretend for a moment you didn't see the original trilogy and decided that you wanted to watch the movies right from episode 1 straight through to episode 9. In episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, it was still believed about the prophecy that Anakin would be the one to restore balance to the Force. Master Yoda said at one point about the prophecy, "A prophecy misread could have been," or something like that along those lines. Obviously, the prophecy was misread, as it was Luke Skywalker that ended up restoring balance to the Force. At least for a time. So think of a prophecy for your story and how everyone is interpreting it a different way. And it finally gets revealed they all got it wrong. This can also be tied in with a character having dreams or visions of what might be coming down the pipeline. And of course, number 8. Irony. This could be something like a character being totally confident that his plan is foolproof and nothing could go wrong. It'll all go off without a hitch. And of course, something will go wrong. We just don't know what or how things will go wrong. That's the suspense of the story. Number 9, chapter titles or quotes. You can always chapter your titles in a fiction story. You can use that for a foreshadowing of something that might be coming on later on. And there was chapters in a post-apocalyptic novel, Patriots, which all the chapters had titles in them which hinted at things that were coming in that chapter. So, there you have it, my 9 tips on how to use foreshadowing in your stories. I hope this helps you. Don't forget to slap that like button and subscribe to my channel. And if you like a free short story, subscribe to my newsletter. The link is in the description. Have a great day, everyone.